Hello, and welcome to page 59 of Volume 1 of my graphic novel of comic strips, Founder. That's page 59 of 65 pages, give or take. I think it should be 65. I think I've timed that out just about right. So we're nearing the end, and right now we're being chased by group-thinking velociraptors through the countryside, and little secret here, I'm using them as a plot device to move the robots from one location to another. So the group-thinking velociraptors that we've spoken about before, and we've used them as an example of group thinking and the dangers of not thinking for yourself, or at least making sure that you're still able to think for yourself, even if you've joined a group where it requires group thinking. The groupthink thing came from my time at Kent State University. Somebody had scrawled it in chalk on a sidewalk somewhere on campus, and I saw it walking across to go to a class or something. Started off with my trusty carpenter's pencil. I love the thing. I think that one of my next stories after I'm done with Found Earth will be penciled completely in carpenter's pencil, and I gotta be honest, I may leave the next work completely in pencil and see how well my copier scanner works, if it can pick up the whole thing. Another thing I'm contemplating is doing the entire next story with brushes or brush pens or some kind of thicker, more varied line than the Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee style of inking things, standard comic booky stuff. And go from there. So in the second, third, and fourth panel of this page, I have a couple of pterodactyls that are observing what's going on, and I used the names of two gentlemen that I met in college. In fact, one of them is a Patreon backer, Scott. The other one is a fellow named Henry, who I always saw those two together. They were always hanging out together, and that was my impression of them. They got along great. They were friends, and so I always saw them together, and so that's why I put them together in this page. They're just a couple of background characters, and it's a neat little thing, and I thought that it would be nice as a remembrance. And you pull from stuff that you've experienced or lived when you create a story, and so that's where they came from. So in this page, they get distracted. The velociraptors get distracted by the sunset, and so when this gets published and it gets out there, and one of you want to color that page, make sure it's a very beautiful sunset, because that's what I imagined when I drew it. So that's your task with this page. So using them as a plot device to get the robots from one place to another, I have them get distracted, and the pterodactyls are placing bets in the background as to whether the velociraptors are going to actually catch them or if they're going to get distracted. And so there's a bet placed, and that came from the idea of a conversation that I had with my daughter about the fact that there will always be people talking in the background. There will always be people maybe not running their mouth, but being disparaging or critical, or just talking to distract you from what it is that you love to do, or talking to discourage you from doing what you love to do. Because sometimes people just aren't happy and they don't want you to be happy either, so they try to drag you down by talking about what you're doing. And you can be perfectly content, and outside voices can drag you down really quick if you let them. So that's the lesson I try to teach. That's one of the lessons I try to teach my kids, is that you can control yourself, but you can't control what other people do or say. But you can make very clear what you allow around yourself by what you put up with. And so we have these conversations, and I tend to have them more with my daughter because she's an extrovert, and she likes to be liked, and she likes to, have people like her, and she likes to do things that aren't maybe necessarily typical for a 10-year-old girl. She likes the Comic-Cons and the comic books and the action movies and drawing on walls and coloring and art and things like that. And I imagine that she may be an outlier in that she's not involved with the boys and the sports and the makeup and the hair and all that stuff. She just doesn't care. She's a tomboy, and she likes to be liked. And you have to excuse me. I have a cat who wants to climb on the computer. So we have a lot of discussions about the fact that we can't control what other people do and say, or do or say, but we can control our reactions, and we can control ourselves. And we can choose to ignore them and do what makes us happy, as long as we're not hurting anybody else. And I think even as adults, we forget this. And we want people on social media and in the street to agree with us and say that we're right, because we like being right. It feels good to be right. And especially with things like Facebook and Twitter, we end up with echo chambers where everybody agrees with us and we're right, and we're all right together, and everybody else who doesn't agree with us is wrong and evil or not thinking or stupid or dumb or other disparaging words. I like the word disparaging today. I don't know why, but I'm using it a lot, and it's appropriate, so I'm going to keep doing it. And so I think that we need to remember that other people have other life experiences that are just as valid as ours in their own way, but that's part of living life, is getting along with other people, or at least not living in constant aggravation and conflict. So I'm trying to teach my kids that, so that the world is just a little better. And maybe they'll teach their kids that, or their spouse, or their friends, and the world will be made just a little bit better. So that's the moral for this page, I guess. Or it could just be a fun chase scene with a nice sunset and some pterodactyls acting like the Wardolph brothers from the Muppets in the balcony. It's your choice. I mean, it can go either. So thank you to Scott Snyder and Joe Landon for your support on Patreon. We're still saving, and we'll see what we get to when we get to page 65 here. And thank you all for watching and for listening to the melodious sounds of my voices as I ramble on. Yes, I have multiple voices, and we'll see you next week. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, and you're all happily preparing for Christmas. So see you next week, and have fun.